I'm Wayne Chapin, President of Xerillion, and today we're going to be doing a project interview, and I have Beth Burgis, the Director of Finance and Accounting at Silver Birch Assisted Living. So Mary Beth, thanks for joining me here and taking the time to go over your Microsoft Cloud project and all the work that we did with getting you guys set up in the Microsoft Cloud. First of all, Silver Birch Assisted Living, what are you guys in the business of?
We own and operate and manage 9 assisted living facilities in Indiana. One is still coming out of the ground. These are affordable assisted living facilities. So we are serving a community that previously hadn't been served before. We have about 958 units currently open. And a combination of studio apartments, one-bedroom apartments, and people have to meet a certain level of care in order to live in our communities and also qualify and a certain level of income. Silver Birch Living as a management company was a startup when we partnered with Xerillion. So we had the opportunity to say, what infrastructure do we want? How should it look? And examine our needs and go from there.
Great. And what do you do for Silver Birch?
I am the corporate controller.
Okay. And how many people, in terms of two different segments, the information workers, the people that would be on computers or people connecting into the system, and then how many people overall in the company?
We have about 36 to 40 people that log in on a daily basis and are using a computer on a daily basis. We have approximately 300 employees at our communities. This includes caregivers as well as some kitchen staff, housekeepers.
And so before we got together and started talking about any kind of solutions, what were you guys faced with in your situation? And I think yours is interesting too, because it is a startup, but it's a little different in that you guys were acquiring a bunch of different care facilities and getting them going, and they were kind of disparate as far as different systems some of them already had in place. So can you talk a little bit about what you guys were faced going into that before we started talking?
Sure. There were 4 communities that were being managed by a third-party management company that we were going to transition under the Silver Birch Living umbrella, and we also had communities that Silver Birch had developed that we were going to manage from the beginning of the first resident moving in. So we had to combine some existing systems and look at what we needed for our own management company. And so it was a question of what are our options? And how do we have, if you will, an intranet for our various sites and so that our different communities could communicate with each other and that we could share documentation between the corporate headquarters in Chicago with the 9 communities.
And you guys chose to go down the Microsoft Enterprise Cloud route, which was what we recommended. Why was that appealing to you?
We didn't have to lease space in a data center, for instance. And also, we were very concerned with security. The residents in our communities are receiving medical attention. So we have protected health information, and we have all the concerns that any other business would have, regarding security about, banking documents, financial statements, contracts. But we also have this element of healthcare added into that and various privacy issues. So the Microsoft Cloud solution was compliant with the HIPAA regulations that we need to follow. So that was a very important factor for us in the decision. Also, the suite of applications between Word, Excel, Teams, Planner, and being a startup, we used Planner quite a bit in terms of who was responsible for what, when was it due, were we on track, off track in terms of meeting deadlines, and it made it very easy for people in different places to collaborate on the same material.
Okay. And Mary Beth, when you guys were looking at solutions and what you were going to go with, were you looking at any other kind of technology solutions before you decided to go with the Microsoft Cloud?
Yes, we considered going with AWS, looked at some Oracle solutions, neither of which really fit our needs. Also, I didn't want to hire somebody whose sole job was the care and feeding of Oracle or AWS. And there was a lot of integration with the Microsoft 365 platform, where I felt all of our employees were already familiar with the application, and having the infrastructure or backbone of the Microsoft Cloud solution seemed logical. From a pricing perspective, it was competitive. And then also working with Xerillion versus bringing a person in-house, we decided to, obviously contract with Xerillion. I would add this too. At the time, I remember AWS as being newer to me, and felt that the Microsoft suite and Office 365 was a known. Even though, that was continuing to evolve, of course, but that was a known product and a trusted standard.
And all these different sites then were connected in together through the Microsoft Cloud in one system. And I remember early on, one of the things we had to do with you guys, and you were very concerned about, is to make sure you had very tight controls on the data security. So there's two things. We had to make sure that only the people that needed to see certain documents could. And the other thing was that you wanted to make sure that you guys were protected in case there was either accidental or, potentially, some wrongdoing with even documents that were deleted or purged. And so a couple things that we turned on in your case was the retention policies, so that if anything's deleted in any situation, you have a 21-year retention policy that we had to get set up for you guys to make sure that you were compliant. It's pretty neat too, because there's no backup system that is needed to do that, because the retention policies are already built inside of Microsoft 365 Enterprise. So you have one of the finest, most secure systems that Microsoft makes now. And for you guys, and you talked a little bit about using Planner to help with the business. Overall, how has the Microsoft Cloud helped your business?
I think it's expedited communication between the different stakeholders in the business, and it's very easy to have an information push for company-wide communications. It has allowed freedom for our employees to travel and know that if their own access login is set up a certain way, that it doesn't really matter where they are, they can log in and get to information that they need. And it's helped us organize our information as well. So what documents, what information, what format of information needs to be stored where, what makes the most sense. And so it was relatively easy to figure that out given the Microsoft tools. As well as consultation with Xerillion. One of the things that Silver Birch Living appreciated with Xerillion is that we had a dedicated consultant that went around and, along with myself, would create email addresses, licensing, monitor that we had the right licenses assigned. If we had an employee leave and someone else step into that role, were we reassigning licenses or were we buying new ones? So we felt that we were also assisted from a cost perspective, and then that we weren't buying more licenses or technology than we needed.
And so in working with Xerillion, we do our Conflict Cloud Advantage services on top of the Microsoft 365 Enterprise. And so that's the unlimited help desk, the monitoring and management of the cloud services that you guys have, and the virtual CIO services. To wrap things up, how has working with Xerillion helped your business?
It gave us an infrastructure that we could not have figured out on our own, and on a timeline that suited our needs. So we appreciated the nimbleness and the flexibility of Xerillion in order to achieve that. Having the depth of the help desk, so there could be multiple calls from our company coming into Xerillion at any point in time, and Xerillion was able to respond to those needs. It is software. It was also setting up printers, making sure the scanning works from printer to document storage, as well as overall vision of how should we set things up. So it was kind of the soup to nuts, the big picture to the detail that we were able to discuss with the Xerillion team and have our problem solved.
Oh, I appreciate that. Well, it was neat putting this in for you guys too. And again, there's Microsoft 365 Enterprise E3, and then there's E5. I mean, you guys have the best system that they make, and it was great working with you guys on that too, because you got it right away. You understood, like, wow, that sounds good. That's what we want to put in place, because we have all these compliance needs. and you've got the most secure system that Microsoft makes. So, hey, thanks for doing this interview, and I really appreciate the time, and of course, having you as a client. You guys are a pleasure to work with. Thanks, Mary Beth.
Thanks, Wayne.